Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today is day 9 of software testing series. So in this video, we will learn about test design techniques. So please watch this video till the end and don't forget to subscribe this channel for upcoming video. So today concept is the test design technique. So test design technique is very important in a software testing. Okay. So test design technique are method used to create effective test cases that maximize defect detection while minimize the number of test cases. Okay. So point is like create create a test case, effective test cases that maximize defect detection while minimizing the number of tests. Okay, and there is a there is a technique like using test design technique mostly used to help to design better test case. Okay, help to design better test cases. And third is reduce number of test cases to be executed. So the main concept of test design techniques, we will not execute that test case. Okay, we will try to reduce number of test cases so that more coverage will cover. Okay, so that concept is used in test design technique. So the third point is reduce number of test cases to be executed. Okay, so there are some term like test data. So the test data is that data which we mostly execute the test case. So the test data will be required. Like if we are executing any test cases, like we need a valid username and valid email ID. Okay, valid password. So this is a test data. Okay, if we will test the negative test case, so we will need a negative test data also. So according to the testing and as per the test data, we have to create. As per the test cases, we have to create the test data. Okay, so the test data it used for testing purpose. Okay. The second point is that the coverage means in this test design technique, the coverage is the most important point. Okay, in this design technique, so it used for all testing coverage. Okay, so our main agenda in the test coverage, which will cover each data and functionality. So the concept of to coverage, like we will cover all positive negative test scenarios, okay, and we will cover the all test data which will be used for a testing, and the all functionality we will cover in a test coverage. Third point is reduce data, okay. So minimize number of test cases. Means sometimes we not need to execute that test cases because that most of the time consuming between testing. So that's why this technique is used like test design technique during the testing and more coverage. Okay. So the more coverage like test all the positive and negative scenario. Test all positive and negative testing scenarios. Okay. We cannot skip any high means impacted scenarios so that we will cover in the more copies. So there is some type of test design technique which are very important. I will explain in the same video with example also. Okay. So the test design technique, there is a five most important test design technique. Number one is equivalence, equivalence class partitioning. Okay, it's on an ECP in short term. Like sometime the interviewer will ask like what is a ECP? So you might be confused. Okay, so what is a ECP? So ECP is a equivalence class partitioning. The second is a boundary value analysis. Okay, it's called BVA technique. Okay, this is also very important. Analysis, boundary value analysis, and decision table. Fourth one is state transition. Fifth is error guessing. Okay, so this is state transition. So the most important in ECP, which we will cover. We will cover all five type of testing: equivalence, class partition, boundary value analysis, decision table, state transition, error guessing with that example. So that the end user and the tester who are preparing for the interview and for the some key knowledge, they can enhance knowledge. Okay. So the equivalence class partition mostly use like divide input, divide input data into valid and invalid groups. Means partitioning. Okay. See. So the divide input data, the which data we will test, we will divide into valid and invalid groups so that we can cover more coverage. Okay. Second point is test one representative value from each partition. Okay. Like test one representative value from each partitions, which will do. Okay. So divide input data into valid and invalid groups that test one representative value from each partition. Okay. See. So there is an example that I will show you. Okay. So, see, so the example, let me create a scenario. Okay. So, the example is, see, the example is field accepts 18 to 16 year for voting. Okay. This is example age field accept 18 to 16 year for voting. Means this is a government rule. They have built like if you have 18 year of old to 16, then you are able to vote. Okay. So there is some condition. There is some condition. Valid partitions. We will test 18 to 60 age. Okay. So in that case, what we will do, we'll test age 30. Okay. So this is a valid scenario. Why is it? The government set a rule 18 to 16, 60 year of old person will able to vote. Okay, so we will test valid scenario age of 30. Otherwise, the most of tester which does not have a knowledge about this, they will test 18, they will test 19, they will test 20, they will test 21, 23, 24. So 18 to till 60, they will test that the all scenario, all the value they will add there. Okay, so the n number of test cases will be add there. But here in 18 between 16, we are testing just 30. So this is a valid scenario. Okay. Third, we will test invalid partitions. So in that case, if you are below than 80, 18, sorry, below than 18, then you will test 15 year of old. Okay. So this test 30 you have tested, 15 means one valid partition and one invalid you have tested. Okay. Then again, you will test invalid. So they will test 60. Okay, greater than 60 they will use. So in that condition, they test 65 age. Okay, they input the 65 age, whether he or she is able to vote or not in this in government application. Okay, so means we have tested our scope 18 to 16 year for voting. This the age person 18 to 16 is able to vote. So we have we prepare the test cases. Okay, and that test data we have partitions into in a key scenario that we have tested here. So valid partition 18 to 16, like 30 we have tested here. Age of 13 is pass. Invalid, like below than 18 is not allowed as per the government rule also. So here 18 test 15 means invalid partition. So it should be not allowed. Here that also I have tested. Then invalid partition again we have tested greater than 60. So 60 I have tested like 65. So this is also not allowed. Okay, to vote that if you have 65-year old, then you are not able to vote this application. So this is a example of the ECP, equivalence class partitioning. Okay. Now the second is BVA. BVA, boundary value analysis. Okay. So boundary value analysis. So that boundary value analysis, we always test that boundary. Okay. So defect, the first point of boundary value analysis, defects often occur at boundaries, okay, and test values at just below and just above limits. Okay, I'll just show you that example so that you can easily understand. So in boundary value analysis, we always test the boundary of, like if any scope client is given us, we will use this technique and we always test the boundaries in that application. Okay, so there is an example for boundary value analysis. A government create a vacancy. Okay, vacancy where his age limit is 18 to 35. 35 are applicable to fill the form. So government create a vacancy for any particular position. So there is the age limit is 18 to 35 is applicable to fill the form. Okay. So that as per the boundary value analysis, we will set the boundaries. Okay. We will set the boundaries. I'll show you the example for the boundary value analysis. What we will do, first we will check our scenarios 18 to 35. Okay. So we will check the boundary. Okay. So the condition is the three condition we will use here. Okay. In this boundary. So the first condition is minimum age is allowed 18 year. Okay. Second is min minus 1 because we are testing the boundaries. So the a minimum is 18 and minus 1 as equal to 17. 17 year age will test. Third scenario is min plus 1. Okay. Equal to 18 plus 1 means 19-year-old we will test. The fourth scenario is max scenario. So max is 35, max age is allowed 30 5-year old. 35 year. Okay. Fifth condition is we will check max minus 1 also in that same case. So 35 minus 1, 34 years. Okay. The sixth condition is max plus 1 plus 1 equal 35 plus 1. So it's a 36 year. That we will test. Okay. So what we will do here, I just going to create a one example. Okay. So there is a one line I have created. This is the line. Okay. So the minimum is scenario here. Minimum equal 18 that allowed. Okay. And min minus 1 we will check. So equal 18 minus 1, 17. Check. And min plus 1 e- equal 18 plus 1 equal 19. We are testing here. The second is the max scenario. The max 35 year is allowed. Then max minus 1. So equal 35 minus 1, 34. Max plus 1 equal 35 plus 1, 36. Okay. So that we will test. See, so I'm going to set the limit here. One limit is minimum equal 18. So the 18 is allowed as per the government rule. So the test scenario, test case is passed. Okay. Condition is case is passed. Condition is matched. Requirement is met. Then again boundary we will test here. Okay. So this I have set min plus 1 equal 18 plus 1 equal 19. So pass. This one is also pass because our government rule is set 18 to 8 minimum 18 to max 35. Okay. Then the condition we will check here also. See. So this condition also will check here min minus 1 condition because we are checking the boundary. We are using boundary value analysis. So 18 minus 1 equals 17 means not allowed. So the our negative test is also passed. This is also not allowed. Okay. Then we will check 35 wala scenario. Okay. So see max equal 35 test case pass. So because 35 is accepting here and 18 to 35 is allowed. Then again we'll check max plus 1 scenario 35 plus 1 equal 36. Not accepted, not allowed. Okay, so our negative test is also passed. And that last boundary we will check here. Max minus 1 equal 35 minus 1 equal 34. 34. So pass because 34 also allowed. Okay. So this is a boundary value analysis. We always our condition is a government set a rule. okay, and create a vacancy for 18 to 35 year is the person is applicable to fill the form. Okay, so we have tested 18 is passed, 35 is also passed, but we are using boundary value analysis, so we will check the boundary in between or 18 between 35. So that boundary we have test from 18 minus 1 17 not allowed, negative scenarios pass. And min plus 1 18 plus 1 19 is also allowed because our scenario is 18 to 35. Then 35 is passed. 35 minus 1 is also passed. 35 plus 1 is 36, not allowed as per the government rule. So this also passed because our positive negative scenario we have covered. So this is the key concept which we have used. This scenario, the live example of the boundary value analysis. Okay. So the third is decision table. Third is decision table. Okay. So the decision table, like if we have more number of more if we have more number of condition and action, then we use the decision table technique. Okay. The second, it's called cause effect. Okay. For this, I have set a rule. And for the example, like the example is the live example, the mostly person use in the banking application. Okay. So transfer money, okay, transferring money online to online to another account, which is the account is already approved and added in bank. Okay. So here we will not add a like bank. It's already added, already approved. So that bank account and bank account will transfer money from one account to another account. The scenario we will check. So uh, in in this decision table, if we have more number of condition action, then we use decision table type. Okay. So there I have created some Excel sheet for that. So you can easily understand. Okay. See. So this is a decision table. Here the condition that there is a decision table. Okay. So there are condition we have set usually, and the decision is that here the condition to transfer money account already approved. OTP one time password match, because if we are transferring money from our UPI, okay, so that PIN or OTP is required, right? So there is a second the here condition is sufficient money in that action. Okay, so where this condition for a transferring money, the what action will perform? Okay, transfer money, show a message that sufficient money, block the transaction in case of suspicious transaction. Okay, if an illegal thing is happened with the account, is some hacker, some other person using, so this third action will be performed. Okay, so in that case, the test case I have created test case 1, test case 2, test case 3, test case 4. So see, let execute this test cases. Okay, see, so all account already approved, true. Okay. One time password match. Correct. So already account approved. OTP is matched. Sufficient money in this account. We have enough balance to transfer the money. Okay. So the first action will be performed. Money will be transfer money from one account to second another account, means the positive test case we have covered. The second test case, account already approved. One time password is matched. Okay. But the customer does not have enough money, the sufficient money in this account. So there is the second condition. So a message as a insufficient money. If you don't have a money in your account, then the second condition will be action will be executed. Okay. So this message will be displayed to the user. So a message as a insufficient money. So this pass, we have checked the negative scenario also. Test case 3 of account already approved. OTP is not matched means false. Okay, so the third condition will be execute. Why? Block the transition in case of suspicious transaction. Account is already approved, but the OTP is not matching. So that's why this action will be performed. So this is a live scenario, live example. Mostly people is using in everyday life, using transfer the money to one account to another account. That same example I have created here. The third and fourth test cases is account is already approved. Okay, but it's false. OTP is also false because already account already approved, that is false. The account is not approved. So this condition also not execute, but I have created like false, false. So no action will be performed. Transfer money will not show, no action, show a message will not show to user, block transition, in the transition case suspicion, no action. So this is the invalid scenario, means the negative scenario is also. So this will not execute. So this process is known as a decision table, because if we have more number of condition, these are condition and the action, then we use a decision table. So this technique is known as a decision table. You can use this scenario in a daily use also. Okay. So the fourth one is state transition. Okay. So the state transition, in that transition, technique change input condition and change the state of the application. So in this transition, technique changes input conditions and change the state of application. Okay. The second, this testing allow to tester to test the behavior of the application. Okay. And the third one is, in this testing, tester can perform various input condition in sequence. In the same sequence, they will perform various input and conditions. The fourth point is for the state transition. So in this testing, the main focus, okay, the main positive focus to provide positive and negative test cases for evaluating the system behavior. Okay, provide positive and negative test cases for system behavior. Okay, so this there is some example I will put, like this is also like live scenario I have captured a login page of an application, a login page of an application which locks the user name. Okay, after after three wrong attempts. Okay, means if a user on a login page, if they will try to log in with invalid credential with three time wrong attempts, so they will log that account. Okay, you can take any account. So for that, I have created an image. You can easily understand for this. Okay, see, so there is a first attempt, second attempt, third attempt. Okay, so first attempt, if user try to log in that application with a valid password, valid credential, user ID, user password, then the condition will execute pass and the user will redirect on that application of home page button. But in the sec, but in first case, if it's failed, so the application will provide to user for a second attempt. So S2 means second attempt will perform. Then user again, if they will try to enter valid credential, okay, then it will be pass and navigate to the home page button. Again in second attempt, if it's failed, okay, if it's failed, so then the user will try to third attempt because the system have a create a condition in backend. They will provide three only three attempt to the user. If some system is not given the three attempt, but mostly in if you can use any live example, live scenario like Facebook, Instagram, or any application if you are using, you can try it from your own. Okay. So in the third condition, they will try to with valid password. If they enter the valid password here, so it will be redirect to home page. Okay. If but if they try to log in with invalid credential, the password is wrong, user ID is wrong, then after third attempt, the account will be locked. Okay. So first condition, if pass, then redirect to home page. Second condition, if pass, redirect to home page. Third condition, if they provide valid ID, pass, then redirect to home page. If they try to first attempt fails, then second attempt fail, third attempt also, but then account will be locked. Okay. So after lock, maybe there's some different condition the company set for the unlocking account. So, okay. But for this state transition, this example is very suitable. Okay. Because in this state transition, technique changes input condition and change the state of this application. Okay. So that application, we are checking state of that application and we try with the valid and invalid scenarios. Okay. So this technique is known as a state transition technique. And there is the last one is error guessing. Fourth one is error guessing. Okay. So the error guessing, the tester use experience and knowledge of the common defect to identify test cases that might reveal bug. Okay. So as per tester skills and experience, okay, and knowledge, so that the common defect to identify test cases that might reveal bugs in that application. Okay, so the example, this is also live example. Okay, suppose a form submit by tester without entering mandatory fields. Okay, means if a form is created by company to fill the any form, but the testers try to test that form, so they not filled any fields there. Okay, even the mandatory field, and they try to click on submit button. Okay, second scenario they will test entering special character in user ID and password. Okay, means for the user ID and password might be in backend they have set some digit they will use, but the tester is trying to break the system, so they're entering is special character. Okay, so third is using very large input value, like if there are condition to use six character in the password field, but using large input means if condition is set by dev, condition is set by dev to use six character in password, in ID and password. Okay, but the tester is entering maximum or greater than six character to use that functionality. Okay. Fourth one is submit the same form with a multiple time. Means a form submitted multiple times the same form. Okay. So a tester are testing a form they already submitted, but they try to submit multiple times. Okay, the same form. So that scenario they will also test. So over the main concept of the error processing, the tester use the experience and knowledge of a common defect to identify the test cases that might reveal some bug. So they will explore that application. They will use the skills, mindset, and experience also to test and break the system. Okay, so might be they try to some invalid, they will try to invalid scenarios. So might be reveal some bugs in that application. So this technique is known as a error guessing. So in this video, we have covered the most important and mostly asked by the interview, like test design techniques. There is a five testing test design technique: ECP, equivalence class partitioning, boundary value analysis, decision table, state transition, and error version. Okay. So please watch this video till the end and don't forget to subscribe this channel for upcoming video. Thank you.